Welcome Libra, Dadhichi here. It's a critical month for you, April 2016, and I say that because your ruling planet this month is just moving past this association with the South Node. The South Node is called Ketu in Hindu astrology, and Ketu relates to your past. It's sort of the fallback upon which we revert when we can't actually cope with what's going on in this current situation in life. There are all those habitually ingrained responses, and Venus, as well as ruling you, being a Libran, is the natural significator of love and relationships. As the month commences, we see that it's in the zone of career, work. It's the actual workplace environment. So some of the relationships here may not specifically relate only to love and romance and those amorous pursuits, but more importantly the workplace relationships. And because this is a connection with the past, and we've also seen that it has passed over Neptune in this 6th house. So this brings up a whole lot of confusing issues. It could set the stage for a somewhat undermining of your self-confidence in your work, in the way you're performing. And of course, if you're comparing yourself to other people in that realm, that domain, then that's going to make life a lot harder for you. Nevertheless, that contact with the past can tell us that you need to go back, and if you're finding, for example, that people aren't treating you the way that you would like to be treated, if you're feeling slighted, and I know Librans do have a tendency to take all sorts of statements very, very personally. That can play on your mind, and you might be easily forgiven for pointing the finger at someone else for doing or saying the wrong thing to you. But this issue of going back through your past, to me, is what needs to be looked at. Go back through the annals of your personal history with your co-workers, with your friends and relationships. Take a look at where you may have sort of transgressed some of their principles. They may not have said anything, but right now that could be a subtle reaction that you're perceiving, and you're not connecting those dots together. That's very, very important. Now, Venus will move out of this area on the 6th, and that precedes a new moon that's taking place in the 7th house of your horoscope. The new moon will take place near the Sun. Sun is transiting there in the west of your horoscope. Mercury is there. And also, I believe, on the 1st of the month, there's going to be a very powerful conjunction of Mercury, the ruler of your 9th house of higher mind, and also the 12th house of spirituality. These are two very spiritual houses, but this can really, really set you off in a way that you would not expect. Expect communications and contacts with those of the opposite sex, particularly your partners, your spouse, to be really hair trigger. You might end up in discussions that you didn't expect. And that's also a precursor to this move of Venus out of the 6th house into the area of relationships. So what may happen in this first week of the month is this tendency to be focused on your workplace relationships, then it will shift to your more intimate personal relationships. We know there could be some problems there in your work, along with co-workers, also people that work for you. So if you're hiring people, you've got hired staff, even in your domestic situation, working around the home, and for some of you that is quite likely, having Moon in conjunction with Pluto in your 4th house as April commences, with Mars squaring that 6th house, so hiring your plumber or your gardener, people doing building or construction for you, even getting down to accountants and lawyers and that sort of thing. Do be careful and get a clarification, because the Mercury combo with Uranus can really trigger a whole lot of unexpected responses, information that's given to you in a quick way, requiring a quick response where you are not really able to provide the information you're supposed to, because you're not armed with all of the correct data, so on and so forth. And later in the month too, I know I'm jumping around, but I just want to give you the context of this, that Mercury also moves into a retrograde position, indicating a need to go back over old ground. As one of your primary and important planets, also ruling legal matters, you've got to get all of this right in the initial part of the month. So when the month commences, do not be, I suppose, prodded or forced or cornered. Allow yourself to be cornered by people who want that information super quickly, because you could put a foot wrong. Now, the new moon in the 7th house is a great start to new relationships. It also has a lot to say about friendships, because the sun, which is part of that new moon, will be in it rules the 11th house. So there's a strong connection relating to this new moon regarding commencement of new relationships, or maybe a fresh approach to the way you're dealing with your relationships. We need to also look at Venus, which is your ruler. We see that it moves to the sign of Taurus later in the month. It's a quick moving planet. There it moves into the sign of Taurus. Let's have a look at that. It moves into Aries on the 6th, as I said, and then it creates some very favourable aspects to Mars on the 13th and Saturn on the 19th, which we've talked about. So you can look forward to some solidifying influences from that set of aspects throughout the middle of the month. That's excellent for your relationships. You also see that when Mercury moves out of the 7th house, the relationships take on more of a financial flavour, and that's shown by the movement of Mercury into Taurus on the 6th. So this is all happening around the time of that new moon. So a fresh approach, not only to your personal relationships, but this could be business partnerships if you happen to be associated in business in any way. The full moon in Scorpio occurs in your 2nd house. Now the 2nd house, again, is a financial house. Moon rules your 10th house, so there's a very strong tie-in with your career and your money. And having the full moon there, although it is in Scorpio, which is its least favourable sign, its fullness gives it some dignity and strength. And there's a lot to be said here for expecting some sort of improvement in your financial status during that period of the month. Things have been a little bit tight because the finance planet Mars has been moving into that conjunction with Saturn in the 3rd house. So whereas before you may have felt, leading up to this full moon, a little bit of reluctance to maybe broach the issue of a pay rise, or to venture forth and earn some more money through maybe a secondary job or some creative pursuits, now you have the green light to go ahead and do that. And I think you can expect some better results financially from that, Libra. There's a couple of other things there. I've mentioned the retrogression of Mercury at the very end of the month. There are a couple of other planets, Mars, for example, which is just about to hit that really not so savoury conjunction of Saturn in your 3rd house of communications and short travels, goes into retrogression on the 17th. So that, by the way, being your finance planet and the ruler of your 7th house of business partnerships, activates and empowers that planet. So you can expect some developments associated with your finances around the middle of the month, just after that. Don't forget to curtail your expenses. You've still got Jupiter there in the 12th house, amplified by Rahu, or the North Node, the other karmic planet. And that's also a karmic issue associated with your debts. So some lessons are going to be learnt there by many of you, I suspect, born under the sign of Justice, Scales, Libra. Do join me again next month. I'm here every month. Look forward to your company. Astrology.com.au is the stop-off place. If you've got a little bit of time, check out some of, a lot of the freebies we have there. And if you want a personal consultation, I can calculate your detailed horoscope and talk to you on a one-to-one basis. I look forward to that as well. Take care. Till next month. See you soon. Bye-bye now.